Who's up next?
A little bit extra on that one.
Well, that's the kick serve that we know so well on a hard court, after actually getting a bit of bite off the grass court surface that time.
Rafter had his hair shaved in February for charity for his own children's foundation.
30-15.
Michael Klim did the job, the Olympic gold medalist swimmer. And they raised $30,000 for Rafter's foundation. Little white patch you see there, he was born with. They call him Skunky. Played again.
All.
Well, dosedel wrong foots Rafter here. As you can see, the grass court still a little damp and slippery.
Well played. It was a decent return. Rafter had to work hard.
40-30.
And Rafter's so imposing at the net. Dosedel looked in position to hit an aggressive passing shot, but Rafter all over it.
Deuce.
3 doubles early on. Rafter is not happy with his serve at all.
Advantage.
Should lift up on that a little bit.
Almost as though the severe slow pace off the return fooled him. Looked in two minds whether to slice that ball or to hit it with top spin. Didn't hit it well at all.
Break point for dosedel to go a break ahead again.
Deuce.
And you can hear the relief around the court.
Advantage rafter.
After starting to crank it up, that was his quickest serve so far. 118. He's returning well, isn't he, the Czech?
Deuce.
He's taking the ball so early that Rafter's not able to get in as close to the net as you'd normally like to. And you can see where he's hitting that first passing shot from. He's 6 or 7 feet inside the baseline. You can see where dosedel is starting to return serve, and he takes 2 or 3 steps, and by the time he follows through, he's 3 or 4 feet inside the baseline.
That wasn't the volley that Rafter was looking for, and dosedel made him pay. This is a very bright
Advantage
start.
dosedel.
Exactly right. Well, Rafter just, that was a gimme almost. Hit it short and right back to dosedel. Not the sort of volleys we're used to seeing from Rafter.
Deuce.
Well, the footwork on this volley is superb. The touch even better.
Second ace for Rafter.
Advantage rafter.
And that serve is just about the key to Rafter's game. If he can get the wide serve working well, that sets up the kicker the other way.
Game rafter. New balls, please.
Yes, Rafter looks up at Tony Roach there. He has to acknowledge that that was tough.
Rafter leads 4 games to 3 first sets.
New balls for him now. Trailing 3-4. Too good. Cool as you like.
15 left.
How dosedel got that ball up, over, and back down again in such a short space. It's extraordinary.
When you're returning against a guy who's got such a high ball toss, does it take you out of your rhythm? Normally take you time to really adjust to it?
I think it would take a few games before you get your split step timed right.
(30-15).
After not timing that one well, I think it came off the line. Sometimes the lines are a little bit slower than the rest of the court.
Not a good percentage for Rafter. Dosedel playing as if he really fancies this.
40-15. Game, dosedel.
Very comfortable from the back.
4 games all.
And very aggressive as well. Not allowing Rafter to get on his front foot. Which of course is where Rafter wants to be. Rafter most comfortable at the net, looking to get in as soon as possible.
Love.
Rafter watched here by girlfriend Lara Feltham.
$30 love. $40 love. Game Rafter.
Fast moving there from Rafter.
Rafter leads 5 games to 4 first sets.
Well, Rafter went on to take that opening set 7-5. Dosedel came back to win the second set 6-4, but then the number 3 seed took control, and here in the 4th set, Rafter had reached match point. A classic serve volley point to finish on. Rafter the win.
15-30.
I think he sold his aeroplane, this man. He used to have an executive Cessna, I think it was. But he's had to sell it, getting on hard times.
And again, the Palmer backhand doing the damage. Not a bad serve from Kafelnikov. Palmer just leaning into it. Good hustle from the Brit. Unable to pull it off.
Deuce.
Just 1 of 6.
Advantage Palmer. A deuce.
Golden opportunity. It was right in the slot where you want it.
Yes, good volley.
Advantage Kafelnikov.
Interesting, he's coming in all the time now. He wasn't at the start of the match.
Seen a couple down the line. And this one cross court. It's his favourite one.
So this has become quite an important game now. Oh, there was a golden chance.
Advantage Kafelnikov.
Second of those.
Deuce.
And would you believe the seventh of those?
Net for service. Net for service. Advantage Kafelnikov.
So the longest game of the match by far, this. 4 deuces.
Game Kafelnikov.
Well, Palmer obviously had his chances there, but failed to take them. Let's move it along now. 4 games later, Palmer about to serve.
Love. Does miss a lot of forehands like that, Kafelnikov. Really does so much work with the arm rather than with the wrist. Fifth in all. About this time, if there are any after effects from his match, his opening round, his 5-setter where he cramped, it's probably going to be this time where it's going to start showing itself. Oh. 15-13.
Well, this may be what is happening. 2 running. Numbers 3 and 4 of the match.
You can't afford to give Kafelnikov any gifts. Again, a good serve getting him out of trouble there. Easy put away.
So there's the break.
Kafelnikov leads by 5-3, third set. Certainly got the feeling he was tiring a little bit in that game, Palmer. That last second serve hit at 69 miles an hour. It's not exactly travelling. $15-11.
It's a rueful shake of the head.
$30-11.
Well, Kafelnikov knows that he's been given the opportunity by Palmer's frailty in that last service game, and he's going to make it hurt.
30-15. Palmer's backhand still serving him well. 40-15.
So a couple of set points now for Kafelnikov.
Game and third set, Kafelnikov. By 6 games.
Well, that was obviously a pretty crucial moment in terms of the match as a whole. And here we go, fast forwarding to the end of the match because Kafelnikov ran away with the fourth set. And that loose shot from Armin Palmer meant the number 7 seed, the Australian and French Open champion in days gone by, was safely through to the next round. And if his attitude's right, he could yet be a contender here on the grass at Wimbledon. As for Palmer, his Wimbledon was over for another year.
Can I just ask you about comments made this morning by David Lloyd? He's on record as saying that you have a wonderful talent, Arvin, but he just feels that you should perhaps get yourself a new coach to become fitter and stronger to increase that element of your game. How would you respond to his comments?
Well, you know, he's a very outspoken person, and he's always said that. But you know, I proved to him again. I got through a best-of-5 set match, and you know, I trust my team around me, my coach, my trainer, and I'm pleased with the way things are going.
Well, I think David Lloyd made that comment off the back of the match a couple of days ago when it was blisteringly hot, and Arvin Palmer had a slight touch of cramp. But fitness is key, obviously, especially in conditions like this.
Well, it is. I think the tough thing, I mean, there's so many things go into cramping. I mean, Pat Rafter has cramped before. You know, I've actually cramped because of nerves in a 3-set match. You know, and so a lot of things goes in, a lot of nervous energy, but the conditions, because the weather, you got to remember, only about 10 days ago in Queens, or you know, maybe less than 10 days ago, on the final day on Sunday, it was something like 10 degrees, and all of a sudden we've gone to 32 degrees. You know, a week later, players can't adjust. There's virtually 20 degrees change. I mean, that's very, very tough to do, and he's played 5 sets. Look, if the weather was more consistent, or if he was training in south of Spain or somewhere like that, and he came up to play Wimbledon, he'd be no problems. But it is tough to deal with that, and 5-set matches, well, there's a lot of elements involved in that.
Let's just blame the weather. And Kafelnikov, is he one of the great underachievers here?
In my opinion, yes. And I said this the other day, is that every year I want to pick Kafelnikov as a player to go through, and every year I have sort of picked him as a watch out for Kafelnikov, he's going to go through, and every year he disappoints me. His second serve tends to let him down. He tends to serve a lot of double faults against top players. I think he's a great player. There's not a shot he can't do. He's tough. He's match hardened. He plays a lot of tennis. And every year lets me down. This year I haven't picked him, so he'll probably go through. But just my luck. But I think he is an underachiever here, and hopefully one year he will come through.
Okay, well, while Palmer was doing battle on court 2, on centre court, Jamie Delgado was trying to do what John McEnroe said last night on this programme was the impossible, and that was to beat Andre Agassi. The actual final score was 6-2, 6-4, 6-3. Delgado played well in the longer rallies, but as Mac predicted last night, didn't really have a big enough shot to worry Agassi. I don't know how much of this game you saw, Pat, but Agassi was ruthlessly efficient, I think it's fair to say.
Well, what Andre is or what Jamie is, I suppose, is a like Andre Agassi style player, but just doesn't have the guns. And I think John, correct in saying that. Andre is just an incredibly tough player. I mean, and what was Jamie going to put up against Andre to beat him? I mean, he had to serve big. He had to really play the match of his life, and I think it was just a bit too much for him.
And also intimidating as well. I mean, never underestimate that.
Look, Jamie Delgado's got a great backhand. To go out there on centre court and to use that backhand and completely dominate a match with his best shot against Andre. I mean, Andre's a great player. I mean, we know that. We know how tough he is, and I reckon after the French Open, he was bitterly disappointed. He really sort of was really grumpy in the press conference, and I think he was looking at. He really believed that he could win the Grand Slam, and I think some of us did believe it as well. I don't think it's an impossibility these days with all the court surfaces evening up as far as pace and the balls. It's not impossible, and I think he really wants to come out and win Wimbledon, and I'm not going to bet against him.
Okay, well, of course, Capriati, the slam is still on for her. Anyway, let's hear from Agassi. He was talking to Hazel Irvine.
Tell me where you're at in terms of the way you're playing in this championship. Are you happy with your progress so far?
How can you not be? You know, I mean, I've gotten through 2 now in good form, and every match is a new day, and you're trying to, you know, ask yourself, where can I improve, where can I play better, but you can't play better than you have to in some cases. So right now everything's in order.
So perhaps, as expected, the British challenge is now down to just 2. But the thing at Wimbledon today was that wherever you looked, the whole place was just awash with Frenchmen.
The French connection at Wimbledon continued, with 4 more Frenchmen in action, all being for places in the 3rd round. Ninth seed Sébastien Grosjean, who reached the semi-finals of the Australian and French Open this year, had little problem in dispatching Rainer Schüttler in straight sets. That sets up a 3rd round meeting with his compatriot Nicolas Escudé, who apparently does everything left-handed except play tennis. It certainly doesn't seem to affect his game. The former Wimbledon junior champion Leander Paes falling to him in straight sets. The 3rd musketeer to claim his victim was Fabrice Santoro, through to the 3rd round for the first time at Wimbledon after defeating Max Mirny in straight sets. And bringing up the rear, D'Artagnan in the shape of Cedric Pierlin, playing his 11th consecutive Wimbledon. The former finalist will have to wait overnight to finish his match against Andrei Stolyarov. After saving 2 match points, bad light stopped play. They'll restart at 5-all in the 5th set.
And they were still playing on court 18, just over there by our studio, literally 20 minutes or so ago. Right, well, let's move on from the French to the Australians, who, of course, would have us all believe that they are the role models for all sport, but maybe not in tennis, because there's only 2 Aussies left in this championship, you know. One happens to be Rafter, and the other Hewitt. Let's start, though, with Patrick Rafter, who was up against Slava Dosedel of the Czech Republic, and he didn't get off to the best of starts. As we join Simon Reed and Peter Fleming, last year's beaten finalist is 3-2 down.
Love 15.
Oh, yes. Really stayed down with that.
Love 30.
And this is the shot that Rafter has developed over the last few years, or rather, he didn't really have it in the beginning of his career, and once he developed that topspin backhand pass, he became a great player.
$15.30. All.
It's disappointing for him, and he's looking to put a bit of pressure back on Dosedel. See by the shirt fluttering around there, it's much breezier than it has been, and a good deal cooler. I guess if you're trying to warm up and you've got a bit of an elbow problem, it's not the ideal day. Not cold, but nowhere near as warm as it has been. slip there, Dustin. I don't think it made any difference.
Yes, well, Rafter floated that return high, and it looked as though it was going to land on the line, and it's a very difficult shot. You can see dosedel struggling to reach it, and even if he did reach it, but very difficult to get any power.
So break point for the Aussie. Oh yes, dosedel taking Rafter out of Rafter's game close to the net and coming up looking very good.
Deuce. Well, I'm sure the sort of hands that dosedel shows here had to have surprised Rafter. He doesn't lose many rallies of this sort. Just an instinctive reaction.
Advantage, Rafter.
First double for dosedel. Second break point for Rafter.
And a rather meek one at that.
That deserved the break. Looked like it was a good slice, but brilliant counter.
And Rafter broke again in the 12th game of that set, and that meant he took it 7 games to 5. So here we are, level pegging again, 4 apiece in the second.
Love.
Well played. It was a decent return. Rafter had to work hard.
40-30.
And Rafter's so imposing at the net. Dosedel looked in position to hit an aggressive passing shot, but Rafter all over it.
Deuce.
3 doubles early on.
Who's up next?
A little bit extra on that one.
Well, that's the kick serve that we know so well on a hard court. After actually getting a bit of bite off the grass court surface that time.
after he had his hair shaved in February for charity for his own children's foundation.
30-15.
Michael Klim did the job, the Olympic gold medalist swimmer. And they raised $30,000 for Rafter's foundation. Little white patch you see there, he was born with. They call him Skunky.
Advantage Rafter.
Rafter starting to crank it up. That was his quickest serve so far. 118. He's returning well, isn't he, the chap?
Deuce. He's taking the ball so early that Rafter's not able to get in as close to the net as you'd normally like to. And you can see where he's hitting that first passing shot from. He's 6 or 7 feet inside the baseline. You can see where dosedel is starting to return serve, and he takes 2 or 3 steps, and by the time he follows through, he's 3 or 4 feet inside the baseline.
That wasn't the volley that Rafter was looking for, and dosedel made him pay. This is a very bright start.
Advantage dosedel.
Well played again.
All.
Well, dosedel wrong foots Rafter here. As you can see, the grass court still a little damp and slippery.
Rafter is not happy with his serve at all.
Advantage.
Should lift up on that a little bit.
Almost as though the severe slow pace off the return fooled him. Looked in 2 minds whether to slice that ball or to hit it with top spin. Didn't hit it well at all.
Break point for dosedel to go a break ahead again.
Deuce.
And you can hear the relief around the court.